You know, I don't think I'm a true fan of the Hulk. This is a true fan of the Hulk. Ha, see what I did there? Anyway, just want to show off my green sweater because today I'm doing a commentary on the 2003 Hulk movie. And speaking of Hulk, look who I still have. I have had this Hulk action figure since I was in the first grade. Still in good condition, if I do say so myself. Yeah, look how sexy he is. I'm a sexy motherfucker. Rawr. Anyway, Hulk 2003 is currently available to watch on these platforms. See where Hulk's pointing? That's where the platforms are. You can watch the Hulk on these platforms while listening to the commentary companion, or you can watch the Hulk while on DVD or a video cassette while listening to the commentary companion. But anyway, I think I'll let this Hulk action figure have the last word.
Hulk say enjoy show. Roar!
Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today I'll be doing a commentary on the Hulk movie from 2003. Yes, that one specifically, but then again, I guess Hulk might be one of the few to actually just have the name Hulk, even though in many other Hulk-related movies, he usually has the title The Incredible Hulk. But I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's basically Hulk. Now, I remember when this film came out. It practically came out a year after Spider-Man. And, as a kid, I tried to like it, but I couldn't really get into the film the same way that I got into Spider-Man. Especially since, Hulk and Spider-Man are practically two completely different films. It's like, Spider-Man is a basic comic book movie, while Hulk is, in Ong Lee's words, like a Greek tragedy. And that's kind of it definitely acts more to traffic. Although, as I've grown older and seen other superhero films over the years, I guess I can probably be a bit more open to 2003 Hulk movie and see it as a different genre. I mean, if I can enjoy a film like The Batman, along with Spider-Man No Way Home, then I'm sure I can probably enjoy something like The Hulk in all of its dated glory. And, well, truth be told, this film was actually the reason I know about the character. It's like, oh no, he killed Patrick Star! Not Patrick Star! Yeah, he may be a buffoon, but did you have to really go guillotine on him? Yep, that's a joke. And one thing for sure, I can definitely recognize Danny Elfman's composition. It's definitely one of the best aspects of the film. But yeah, Hulk had been in development since the late 90s, right after the death of the Incredible Hulk TV movie, and I really need to watch that one. But yeah, when before Ang Lee got hired to direct the Hulk, other directors that were considered were Jonathan Hensley and Joe Johnston, which is interesting because eventually Jonathan Hensley would make his directorial debut with The Punisher. And, eventually Joe Johnston, years later, would end up directing Captain America, The First Avenger. So it's kind of an interesting irony that they were almost considered for the role of the Hulk. Well, not the role, but considered to direct it. But yeah, it's like a lot of development occurred. A lot of development occurred with the Hulk, and there was a lot of so many genre inconsistencies. It's like so many ideas that came out of it. Some thought that they were gonna do like a sci-fi. Others thought they were gonna do make it a comedy, and it's like. One aspect of it was like would have had the Hulk fighting gamma irradiated insect mutants. Sounds pretty crazy. That's what Hensley's version would have been. And this, and of course, like other, when Hulk was being developed with other writers that were that made unused scripts were Zach Penn and J.J. Abrams. Yes, the Zach Penn, who I mentioned in X2, and J.J. Abrams, you know him. You either love him or hate him. I like him. He's fine by me. Also, I think it's pretty funny that Ang Lee was considered for the role of... it's funny that Ang Lee was almost directed Spider-Man. It's kind of ironic. Eventually, like I said, Zach Penn and J.J. Abrams almost wrote Hulk before John Turman, Michael France, and James Schamus wrote the official screenplay. Now, Hulk is not the only Marvel project that John Turman worked on. Many of these were unproduced. They consisted of Iron Fist and Silver Surfer. Turman's aspects of the unmade Silver Surfer were incorporated into the Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. And in John Turman's original draft of the Hulk, he was gonna fight the Leader, a regular mainstay of Hulk mythos. And now, other films that Michael France was known for writing were Cliffhanger, starring Sylvester Stallone, Goldeneye, The Punisher, and The Punisher starring Thomas Jane, and Fantastic Four from 2005. And the final writer, James Schamus, is a frequent collaborator of Ang Lee, producing many of Lee's films, dating back to Lee's directorial debut, Pushing Hands from 1991. James Schamus is also the co-founder of Focus Features, serving as its former CEO. Now, although Lee's directorial debut, Pushing Hands, features English language, it's also in Taiwanese, Lee's first official, fully English language film was the 1995 period piece, Sense and Sensibility. Now, although Bruce's father is named David Banner, which is a reference to the Bill Bixby Incredible Hulk character of the same name, David Banner, Bruce Banner's father is actually Brian Banner. And Brian Banner made his comic book debut in a cameo appearance in The Incredible Hulk number 267 in January of 1982. And he made his full appearance in The Incredible Hulk number 312 in October of 1985, created by Bill Mantlo and Sal Buscema. Now, I think you might find this fact interesting. Much of the microbiology work seen on screen is authentic, and is actually courtesy of director Ang Lee's wife. Yeah, so Ang Lee's wife is a microbiologist. I didn't know this, but it's actually an interesting fact. But yeah, the reason that in the Incredible Hulk movie that the reason he had David Banner instead of Bruce Banner was because one of the producers of the Incredible Hulk TV show didn't like couldn't fathom the idea of a main character having an alliterative name. He couldn't take that seriously, and so they went with David Banner. Isn't that fun? Yeah. And as you can see, one of the most divisive aspects of the film is well, the split screen technique, which required a lot of a lot of filming techniques for that. I find it interesting. I'm actually kind of okay with it. I like that it pays homage to being like a comic book. And, I gotta give the guy playing young David Banner credit. He kind of does look like a young Nick Nolte. Yeah, Paul Kersey, who's a retired actor. The things you find out in certain things. Now, Lee cited influences from King Kong, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Beauty and the Beast, Faust, and Greek mythology to interpret the story. Now, teenage Bruce Banner is played by Mike Irwin, who is best known for voicing the character Jack in the Jack and Daxter video game series. Who never knew? Of course, Bruce Banner isn't the only comic book character that Mike Irwin has portrayed, as he was also voiced Roy Harper, aka Speedy, on Teen Titans and Justice League Unlimited. Yeah, I'm learning all this myself. What were the odds of that? Hopefully earlier. And so we have the cameo appearance of Stan Lee and Lou Ferrigno, which is definitely one of my favorite cameos, featuring Stan the Man. Apparently, Stan Lee ad-libbed the line of security being beefed up. And in case you're wondering who Lou Ferrigno is, was actually the first actor to ever portray the Hulk in live action, portraying the Hulk in the original Incredible Hulk TV series with Bill Bixby. It's always great whenever he makes an appearance. Now, before Eric Bana was cast as Bruce Banner, other actors considered were Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, Johnny Depp, Billy Crudup, Steve Buscemi, David Duchovny, Jeff Goldblum, and Tom Cruise. Edward Norton, who is a big fan of the Hulk, even expressed interest in portraying the character in the 2003 movie before turning the role down, being disappointed with the script. Ang Lee felt obligated to cast Eric Bana as Bruce Banner after seeing him in Chopper. And I didn't know that Eric Bana was Australian. And, he does a pretty decent American accent. And, in my opinion, I also think I sometimes forget that Eric Bana was a comedian. That's right, you heard me right. Eric Bana started out as a comedian. Yep, he began his career in the sketch comedy series Full Frontal, which was an Australian sketch comedy show. And when Eric Bana was on that show, he was he did a lot of impressions. So he was a comedic actor first, and his ability to mimic accents and other people landed him the role of the biographical crime film Chopper, in which he portrayed Mark Chopper Reed, and and he did an impressive job portraying Chopper Reed, even sitting right next to the real criminal to really get his mannerisms down. And yeah, I mean, dude's a chameleon when he needs to. I don't know if I could really imagine like Adam Sandler as Bruce Banner. I mean, I'm not trying to poo-poo him because, Adam Sandler may be known for immature humor, but sometimes when he needs to, he's very good with in a dramatic role whenever he needs to. So I guess maybe I shouldn't underestimate Adam Sandler as Bruce Banner, because I'm sure that if he was given a good script, he probably would have made a very convincing Bruce Banner. But that definitely would have been weird marketing, because I guess this was when the developers were like, wait, is this supposed to be a sci-fi or is this supposed to be a comedy? And I totally get that. I would kind of be... imagine being introduced to the Hulk through Adam Sandler. That would be so weird. It's a strange alternate universe, but, if multiversal traveling ever happens, yeah, I would definitely travel to that universe where where it's like where multiversal traveling is happening. I'd love to travel to that alternate universe where Adam Sandler plays Bruce Banner in this movie. It's raining frogs. Hallelujah. It's a raining frogs. Amen. Also, yeah, this was technically the first time I'd ever seen Jennifer Connelly in anything. You would think I would recognize her in La- in Labyrinth, but I didn't really watch Labyrinth until I was 12, which I think was the right age. Now, the role of Betty Ross attracted Jennifer Connelly since she found Ang Lee's vision of the Hulk interesting. He wasn't talking. This is what she had to say about it. He wasn't talking about a glossy, fun filled kids' movie about a green guy running around in tights. He was talking along the lines of tragedy and psychodrama, the green monster of rage, greed, jealousy, and fear in all of us. And yeah, I know that some people. I know I should know Josh Lucas for playing Talbot in this, but I know him best for his role in Glory Road, which was that one basketball movie from Disney. And yeah, that's how I best remember him for. And yeah, so Josh Lucas plays Glenn Talbot. And Glenn Talbot made his comic book debut in Tales to Astonish number 61 in November of 1964, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. But yeah, it's like the Hulk has a rather interesting history that I might later get into when the big green guy eventually shows up, which should be around 22 minutes from now. Or maybe it's more than that. I'm not exactly sure, you know? But yeah, you know me, just looking up facts. Because I'm a facts man. Facts man? I'm facts man. But yeah, Eric Bana commented that the mood during shooting was ridiculously serious and morbid. Director Ang Lee explained to him that he was shooting a sort of superhero tragedy, and he would be making a whole other movie about the Hulk at the Industrial Light Magic Studios. Ironically, the film was criticized as being an overly serious superhero film. Now, Sam Elliott accepted the role of General Ross without reading the script because he was simply excited to work with Ang Lee, which I totally get. And, you know, Sam Elliott is perfectly cast as General Ross. And fun fact, the frog used in the nanomed experiment named Freddy is fake. The crew pumped air into it to make it look like it was breathing. They used a prop frog after the real one proved not to be as lively as the fake. Hi-ho. And Ang Lee took Eric Bana to watch a bare-knuckled boxing match to prepare him for his role's brutality. Now, costume designer Merritt Allen had to come up with unflattering, nerdy clothes for Bruce Banner to disguise the fact that Eric Bana was actually in perfect shape. Yeah, I mean, that checks out. I sometimes forget that he was Nero in Star Trek. Now, other films that Merritt Allen had worked on before passing away in 2007 were All the King's Men from 2006, Brokeback Mountain, Thunderbirds, K-19, The Weight of Water, and Eyes Wide Shut, among others. He was even a costume designer for Snow White, A Tale of Terror, a TV movie, and he was also the costume designer for The Secret Garden and Mrs. Doubtfire. Who would have guessed? And The Witchers, too. And Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I first heard when I heard Jennifer Connelly's voice after watching it one time, I actually mistook her for the voice of Nala in The Lion King. But you know, like I said, I was wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Now, Nick Nolte grew his hair wildly for this movie when he was apparently arrested for drunk driving and photographed for his now infamous mugshot. Now, Nick Nolte used an oxygen tank throughout the production. Eric Bana recalled a moment where, after taking a hit of oxygen on set, Nolte turned to Bana and confided, "I don't really need this. It just makes them think you're fucking crazy and they pay attention." That sounds about right. Who knew the poodle could be such a dick? Now, professional dog trainers handled the dogs and gave verbal and visual cues to either stay on a mark or move from A to B. Now, Sam Elliott read Hulk comic books to prepare for his role as General Ross. He had doubts about growing a mustache since the Army discourages facial hair, but Ang Lee convinced him to do so. Which is kind of funny because one of Sam Elliott's most signature aspects is his mustache. Now, the Hulk starfish motif results from director Ang Lee's desire to insert natural science into the Marvel Comics fantasy. Ang was interested in knowing, could this actually happen to a human being? Asked Larry Franco. Hence, an MIT scientist's extensive research reeled in jellyfish that turn green, sea cucumbers that grow thick, hard skin, and starfish with regenerative powers. All attributes the Hulk shares. Now, Eric Bana wasn't a fan of the Hulk comics that inspired the film, but he was a big fan of the Incredible Hulk TV show. Bana explained, I was obsessed with the TV show. I was never a huge comic book reader when I was a kid, but was completely obsessed with the television show. Now, like I said, Joe Johnston was going to direct the film, but he dropped out of the project in July of that year to film October Sky. Now, the first rule Ang Lee set for the costume design team was no lab coats, as he wanted to portray the scientists as realistically as possible. Now, Nick Nolte compared his character David Banner to King Lear, who felt betrayed by the world. Now, I'll give this film credit. I mean, this film was actually helped prepare Ang Lee for dealing with digital effects for films like Brokeback Mountain and Life of Pi. And what I bet you didn't know was that in Brokeback Mountain, there actually are digital effects used for the many sheep in the film, which is kind of interesting. Makes sense. Because, it's not easy training a whole bunch of sheep for a film like Brokeback Mountain. Now, Danny Elfman's musical score pays homage to composer Bernard Herrmann's work with suspense director Alfred Hitchcock. Now, weeks before the film's release, a New Jersey man named Kerry Gonzalez acquired a copy of its work print from a friend of an ad agency employee and leaked it online. As it contains tep music, unfinished CGI, and unedited audio, those able to see the leaked work print heavily criticized the movie's incomplete version. Some studio executives subsequently blamed the movie's box office failure on this leak. After his arrest, Gonzalez pleaded guilty to piracy, sentenced to 3 years in prison. In the following years, many considered the leak one of the worst in Hollywood history. Yep, because an exposure like that would kill anyone. I mean, I know if I'd got exposed to that, I wouldn't turn into a big green guy. I'd be dead. Wants to know where to get where I'm taking. Okay, I like that. How about my kidney? Apparently, the child actress that played Betty Ross, young Betty, Rhiannon Lee Rin, actually, the reason she cried is because she cried so much because she hates ice cream. Now, isn't that weird? Famous last words. Now, during production in San Francisco, filming stopped for about 2 hours because some college students from UC Berkeley played a prank and systematically urinated in porta potties, creating very loud peeing sounds that distracted the cast members on set. It took about 2 hours to round up all of the students. Hey, look, SpongeBob, jellyfish. You ready to go jellyfishing? Who's at the door? Is it Shrek? Now, Eric Bana was anxious and paranoid about doing a good job as Bruce, and he said, and I knew that the rest was out of my hands, and I was quite comfortable with that. I apologize if I'm doing a terrible Australian accent. Now, Eric Bana was actually very excited to be working with Nick Nolte because Nick Nolte is apparently Bana's one of Bana's favorite actors, and he said while it might have been traumatizing to work with him, he had quite a lot of fun working on those scenes with him. Also, Ang Lee turned down directing Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines to direct Hulk. Who would have guessed? Now, Ang Lee called this film his New Green Destiny. That's the sword in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which he directed. And it makes sense that he was asked to direct this after the success of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But I also like. I'm also a big fan of Nick Nolte's voice acting, as he's also voiced the bear in Over the Hedge, and also he voiced what's his name in uh uh Krill. Um, oh yeah, Quill. I'm sorry. Yeah, I really like his voice performance as Quill in The Mandalorian, and the way he says, "I have spoken." Apparently, that rat is actually a dog in a rat suit that he experiments on. According to Michael France, he wrote the film's screenplay 3 times. Now, Ang Lee's longtime composer, Michael Dana, wrote the initial score, but Universal felt it was too ethereal and not suitable for the film. So their film music president, Kathy Nelson, hired Danny Elfman to write the entire score. Elfman said, "It was a very extreme situation. I wouldn't have ever flown up there if it hadn't been for how much respect I have for Ang. I had this horrible fear that he'd look at me like this Hollywood hack who'd come in and do a predictable action movie scene. After I looked at the film, I went home and had nightmares all night long. And that was before I realized how little time I had to do it." I also find it interesting that Jennifer Connelly and Liv Tyler played sisters in Inventing the Abbots, and they both shared the role of Betty Ross. Now, the unit patch on General Ross's uniform is that of the 7th Cavalry Division. This is the same unit to which Sam Elliott's character, Sergeant Major Basil Plumley, was assigned in We Were Soldiers. Of course, Sam Elliott and Nick Nolte are also big fans of the Hulk character, which makes sense. Now, the Earth number that Hulk takes place in is Earth 4040083. That's 400083. Yep, he's starting to get angry. That's not good. Now, early in developing Hulk's expressions, Ang Lee dismissed some models for looking too much like Kurt Russell and David Hasselhoff. Also, Hulk was the first Marvel movie helmed by an Asian director, and remained the only one until Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings and Eternals. What were the odds of that? Well, that door's about to smash open. And finally, at nearly 40 minutes in the film, well, over 40 minutes, we finally get the Hulk. And of course, I like that it's done in the dark and almost grayish, kind of like almost like a horror film, and very much to pay homage to the Hulk being gray. And finally, we get the Hulk. Now, apparently, the Hulk was portrayed through motion capture for the first time, and it was director Ang Lee who did the physical motion capture along with the along with the voice of the Hulk. I think my only pet peeve with this is I kind of wish that Eric Bana had been the one to physically portray the Hulk, which would have made sense. Because, they're one and the same, even if they are different characters. Now, according to Industrial Light and Magic animators, the Hulk's stats are as follows. He weighs 3,452 pounds. He can exert 14 tons of pressure per square inch. His skin is 10 times as strong as Kevlar. His chest measures 17 feet and 4 inches, which is 5.3 meters. His waist is 12 feet and 10 inches. His feet are 4 feet and 3 inches. If he wore shoes, they would be size 87, and that's the United States size. 4 feet. His neck measures 6 feet and 9 inches. And he can move at a top speed of 300 miles per hour and cross 3 to 4 miles in a single jump. That's interesting. And over 22 years later, I kind of like the texture. Perhaps I actually like the shadows and the way the texture looks. It makes me think of my action figure. And his face was modeled off of Eric Bana and Ang Lee, apparently. And yeah, I actually do like the expression of his confusion, like a confused child. It kind of makes sense. This bitch empty. Yeet. It's quiet in there. Too quiet. Wait, so did he just shrink back down and then open the door? Hulking out sure does work up an appetite, doesn't it? I am your father. Now, Bruce destroys most of the laboratory in which he works during his first Hulk out. When he lifts the Gamma Sphere onto his back and shoulders, the Hulk poses briefly like the Greek mythological figure Atlas, who holds the sphere of the sky in the same way. The moment serves as a nod to the location name of the actual Gamma Sphere, which exists in real life in Atlas, short for Argon Tandem Linear Accelerator, at Argonne National Laboratory in Argonne, Illinois. Despite its name, the actual gamma sphere has no gamma generating capabilities. You know, I sometimes forget that the original run of the Hulk comic book series originally only lasted for around 6 issues. No joke. Of course, Hulk started appearing in the anthology series Tales to Astonish in issue number 59, published in 1964. And Tales to Astonish was notable for introducing Hank Pym, otherwise known as Ant-Man and Giant Man, and Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp. Tales to Astonish ended up becoming Volume 2 of The Incredible Hulk by issue number 102, published in April of 1968. Now, interesting fact about the first transformation. It was it took Eric Bana 4 takes to film Bruce Banner's first Hulk transformation due to the split screen technique, and by the time it was complete, Bana was on the verge of collapse. And by all accounts, like The Hulk is also Industrial Lights and Magic's second. His ILM's fourth Marvel movie that they ever worked on. The first that they worked on was Howard the Duck, and the other two, the second and third, were Men in Black and Men in Black Two. Because you got to remember, Men in Black is technically Marvel under the Malibu imprint. Ooh, someone's making Betty uncomfortable. Now, fun fact: the reason that the Hulk had green skin in the comics was because, well, the publisher couldn't print the Hulk's original gray skin very well, so Stanley made the Hulk green simply because other characters hadn't used green much. I much prefer Hulk as green, honestly. I have spoken. Apparently, the scene of General Ross and Bruce Banner exchanging this dialogue is actually took 150 takes. You'd think General Ross would cut him some slack over this. But then again, General Ross is a hard ass in general. Herbal hair gel, that's good. Just a daily reminder that General Ross is a hard ass. And not a good hard ass. Now, the dogs that are gamma radiated actually have names. The poodle is named Lily, and she is the trio's only female and fidgety and the hyperactive leader. The second one is a mastiff. His name is Smokey, and he's a bear-like wrestler. And the third one is Pitbull, and his name is Sammy, and he's like a lion, all about biting. Isn't that interesting? Now, when Betty first meets David Banner, they discuss a man named Benny. Benny was a soldier who appeared in the Hulk graphic novel, The Dogs of War, which introduced the concept of Hulk dogs. Pictures from the same book get flipped by the screen when the opening Marvel logo appears. I actually do like this split panel shot of Bruce and David on the phone. That's not good. Ugh. Too bad Talbot gets giddy with confrontation. Oh, big mistake. Okay, I actually do like this scene. Oh yeah, I definitely remember this part where he's he's shaking while he's turning green. It's definitely hard to not. It's definitely hard to forget. Whoop. What? How do you do it in the swamp? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. If I didn't make a Shrek joke, I was gonna go crazy. Yeet! And I think at this point he's growing 10 feet tall. I also think it's kind of funny that at that point, the only thing piece of clothing aside from his underwear to remain was his sock. And then, his sock goes bye bye. But yeah, this indicates, the angrier he gets, the bigger and stronger he gets. Puny car. And apparently, Betty's house was actually used in To Kill a Mockingbird. Whether it was explicitly the Finch house that it was used in, I'm not sure. Actually, it could be the Ewell house. The house of Robert E. Lee Ewell and his inbred family. Because yeah, I've actually seen To Kill a Mockingbird starring Gregory Peck, and I actually read the book when I was a sophomore in high school. In fact, I have To Kill a Mockingbird, the book. So it's kind of interesting that this was used in To Kill a Mockingbird. And you know what? I'd recommend you read To Kill a Mockingbird and watch the movie. Please do. Also, an interesting fact in order for the actors to kind of see where the Hulk would be and where he would be placed, they actually used a cardboard cutout of Elvis Presley for them to work and interact with, which I find pretty funny. It's like, imagine if it was Elvis Presley. It's like, oh, I'm the Hulk. Thank you very much. Hulk smash. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, he's about to raise her like Josh Groban. Actually, these are good facial expressions, even if it might be Shrek on steroids. There's Lily, which apparently the gamma radiated dogs were designed by Ang Lee's son. And apparently, the Gamma Dog fight was actually the most complex of the special effects ever done at the time, which is pretty funny considering all the other films that Industrial Light and Magic has done over the years. I was like, how? Man, Lily is quite a bitch. See what I did there? Bitch. Now, apparently, the scene was going to be way more brutal, and Hulk was also going to fight them naked, but Ang Lee realized how ridiculous it would have been, like something out of Austin Powers, and which I find pretty funny. So, yeah. Hmm. Now, according to the official illustrated screenplay, Lily the Poodle would have sprung back to life after the Hulk smashed her through Betty's windshield, partially closed her jaws around Betty, injuring her slightly before dying. The Hulk mashes Lily's face flat against the windscreen in the novelization. She returns from the brink of death and lunges at Betty through the glass in a final attack, but Betty yanks on her seat release in the nick of time as Lily's jaws close just above her before the dead dog melts away. After Bruce opens her door, Betty partially staggers out of her car and sees some blood smear on him before realizing it's hers, from cuts from the broken glass and Lily's claws. And several dog breeds for the Hulk dogs were considered, including a German Shepherd, which would make sense. Oof. Yep, the Hulk dogs were originally going to steam and melt after death. Now, in the second draft of Michael France's screenplay, an accident at Gamma Base leads to Bruce, his colleague Samuel Stearns, and another named Curtis getting exposed to gamma radiation, with Bruce saving Talbot in the process. The three slowly show signs of mutation. Bruce goes on to run with Betty after becoming the Hulk. Meanwhile, the transforming Stearns experiments on an ex-Air Force ops team member, Carl Creel, turning him into the Absorbing Man. Continuing his experimentations, Stearns develops a plan to wipe out over half of Earth's population to save humanity from sending itself into oblivion and help the world start over, with himself leading the survivors. The script's second draft from February 2000 by Michael France has some differences. Betty would have been named Betty Garrett and worked in a hospital. Betty and Bruce would have been in their 20s. Talbot is a major working under General Ross. Samuel Stearns would become the leader, and it would have Carl Creel becoming the Absorbing Man. And Bruce and Betty would go on the run, and there'd be more Betty and Hulk scenes. And there would have been a scene featuring the Grey Hulk. Whoa, dude. Man, that escalated quickly. Anyway, but yeah, Michael France's other second draft. The screenplay has moments of body horror, humor, more action scenes, and pop culture references. There are also nods to the comics. Bruce's full name, Tales to Astonish, the Gamma Base, Bruce's father being abusive, Bruce fearing that he shares his dad's temper, Bruce pondering a sewer slide to rid himself of the Hulk, and sequences of the Hulk as the monster hero, often threatening and saving people. The Gamma Sphere carried over to the final film, though it's 50 feet big and suspended from the ceiling in the script, as does the Hulk fighting the army in the desert, and him growing taller as his rage increases. Bruce and Betty fleeing the army, and a scene of Bruce falling from a great height to force a transformation, with the Hulk's hand emerging from a crater, which later appeared in The Incredible Hulk. Sorry, a foot fell asleep. Oof. I hope Betty's got good insurance. You know, it's questioned whether or not David Banner was truly remorseful of his actions. His second confrontation with Betty seems to indicate yes, but his actions during the rest of the film suggest that his admission of guilt is insincere. A novelization outright confirms that David is merely attempting to elicit sympathy. Now, originally in one of Zach Penn's earlier drafts of the Hulk script, there would have been an aspect of the film where, Bruce can't have sex with Betty without risking turning into the Hulk. While that never happened in this film, it did get later used in, The Incredible Hulk starring Ed Norton. Now that's what I call irony. Now, although Betty survives thanks to the Hulk's intervention, David still gets desired results from the events in two ways. First, he taunts Bruce that the Hulk is part of him, like it or not, and deep down, even Bruce can't resist basking in in his power once it's unleashed. What better way to prove that point than endangering the woman that Bruce loves? Given the Hulk's unbridled fury during the battle, Bruce's post-fight reaction as stated above, and his later confession to Betty about enjoying losing control, Bruce unwittingly proves his father right. Second, Bruce asks Betty why David would want him to change into the Hulk. Earlier, David told Bruce his plan to harvest the Hulk's power, but the novelization reveals David's other reason for targeting Betty. He doesn't think about his dogs, think twice about his dogs when they don't return from their assault on her. Indifferent to their deaths because they proved the Hulk was strong enough to beat them alone, exceeding David's expectations. Et tu, Betty? I digress. Anyway, though they failed to kill Betty, David deems the task a success anyway, as the dogs successfully served their real purpose, testing the Hulk's power. Now, the movie makes it seem like Bruce quelled his emotions until the Gammasphere accident because of his repressed memory of his mother's death. However, Edith tells her friend Kathleen that Bruce has always been bottled up. This means that Bruce had already had emotional issues, but this, of course, was due to his father. The novelization clarifies that David is responsible for them. When Bruce is 3 years old, Edith catches David taking a blood sample from him. David yanks the hypodermic syringe out of Bruce's arm, making him wail in pain. Seeing parts of Bruce's body distort again causes Edith to faint, making Bruce's crying stop. Seeing an opportunity, David points at Edith and gaslights Bruce by blaming him for hurting her by acting out. Then David guilt-trips Bruce, warning him that Edith might die next time and it will be Bruce's fault for getting angry again. David tells Bruce to suppress his anger whenever it comes unless he wants more bad things to happen. David's words become ingrained in Bruce's mind, which explains why he later doesn't defend himself against the bully kid Jack and grows up somewhat emotionally stunted. After the gamma radiation accident, all of Bruce's suppressed emotions were finally released. I find it interesting that David Hayter, who worked on X-Men, also worked on a draft for The Incredible Hulk. What a complex. That's ruthless. I'm gonna try explaining that. That sounds pretty sarcastic. Oh, I think I screwed up on a fact. Shocker. Now, like I said about a cardboard cutout, it was actually a cardboard cutout of the Hulk that they nicknamed Elvis. That makes sense. Now, ILM wanted to study a human performing the Hulk's actions to create his movements. Initially, they tried using bodybuilders, but found them too cumbersome, so they settled for personal trainers instead. Yeah, why not explain that to him? Now, the film's duplicate gamma sphere was so convincing that actual scientists couldn't tell the difference. Interesting. Nothing could go wrong. According to James Seamus, Nick Nolte would talk about philosophy for hours on set, and he was always the producer's first choice to play David Banner. I'm not gonna lie; these shots of David becoming the absorbing man are actually pretty cool, especially when he becomes the steel beam. They even have an action figure of him being absorbing various things. It's actually an interesting action figure. I actually like the texture details and the sound effects. Now, David Banner's Absorbing Man persona is inspired by a villain of the same name, the Absorbing Man. Now, the real Absorbing Man, Carl Creel, made his comic book debut in Journey into Mystery number 114, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. He was originally a Thor villain. And unlike David Banner, Carl Creel gained his absorption powers through the magic of Loki. Absorbing Man's first appearance in a Hulk comic was The Incredible Hulk number 125, published in March of 1970, written by Roy Thomas and illustrated by Herb Trimpe, the co-creator of Wolverine. Well, I like the detail of his feet turning into the steel beam. The steel floor, I mean. Metal floor? Yeet! That's actually an interesting knockout. Well, although I think he might be dead. Now, I think this might be a dream. Yeah, apparently this is true, and this is confirmed in the novelization as after Bruce loses his mother, he sees Betty as a child, which makes sense. What were the odds they would, mingle? This is my home. Here among my trappings. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I find it interesting that Jennifer Connelly, that Joe Johnston almost directed Hulk, as he actually collaborated with Jennifer Connelly on The Rocketeer. Now, isn't that ironic? So wait, let me double check that fact. Yep. Vindicated. Just a wall. That's anticlimactic. It's empty. The tinsman forgot to give me a heart. Sorry, that's a random reference. Yep, it's definitely a dream, I think. Yep. Yep. General's answer to bigger people. Money, money, money. All about the dollar bills. So pack up, go home, you're through. How could I make a man out of you? Oh dear, I hope I don't get demonetized for singing all that. Because of YouTube's new rule. Apparently that's a CG plane, but was inspired by real military planes. Speak of the devil, and the devil appears. Or in this case, the Talbot appears. Rude. Yep, I definitely recognize Josh Lucas as the voice of the Home Depot commercials. More saving, more doing. That's the power of Home Depot. Yep, now I'm wondering if he had been under there the entire time, but maybe not. Who knows? Now, when Ang Lee made this, he saw it as a big budgeted art house film. I get it, given his art house roots. Well, that's a cool transition. Unless, is this the house that was used in To Kill a Mockingbird? I'm not sure. Jeez, this guy can't. Yeah, like lots of it gonna happen. Woulda. Yep, shame. Yeah. Yep, I definitely see a bit of King Lear in this monologue. You know, blaming everyone else, uh, believing that everyone has betrayed him. I mean, I can't really say much since, I've never really read or watched King Lear, so I can't really compare. But I can kind of see that. Yeah, pretty much if this was Reddit, Betty would be telling David, "You're the asshole." Well, you know what they say. Curiosity killed the cat. Yeah, sorry. Hearing the off-screen yelling and screaming does make me uncomfortable, but it's good acting on the actor's part. Yeah, that's kind of what happens when you stab a person, David. You asshole. Okay, that's some pretty cool shots of the microbiology. Well, that does not sound pleasant. You know, I swear I could hear a bone cracking during the transformation. Here's Hulky! Yeah, what I think is funny is that this is the biggest gas, apparently a big knockout gas, and the best he can do is make the Hulk sneeze, and I think that's kind of funny. Yeah. Ah, heck. Actually, I think I'm enjoying this a lot more than I thought. Yeah, heck. I think if this had been released before Spider-Man, Hulk probably would have been welcomed a lot more, and probably would have been compared favorably. I mean, is Spider-Man probably better? Yes, but it's actually this is still fun in its own way. And actually, the foam weaponry is actually a real weapon. It's not deadly, but it's still an actual weapon used in the military. Yeah, you fool! Don't you realize his skin's stronger than Kevlar? I mean, would his eyeball be invulnerable? I guess Talbot will never know. Kind of looks like an animatronic right there. Say hello to the ex-wife. Did it just ricochet? Now, this wasn't supposed to be the end of Talbot. If a sequel had been made, they would have had Talbot somehow surviving, and then he would have turned into the Abomination. But, well, that never happened. And apparently the sequel also would have had Hulk turning into Grey Hulk as well. Run for your lives! I'm just imagining them shooting the cardboard cutout.
Bullets tickle.
That looked like a gentle nudge.
Hulk, show your real guns.
Yeet! Yeah, take the fight outside. Nothing could go wrong. I think he just looked at the explosion. Was like, "Oh, what was that?" Yep, leaping in single bounds. That looked a little clumsy there. Those must be some stretchy boxers. And the banner home is worse for wear. Huh. Interesting detail seeing the cut just heal like that. The way his legs flail around make me think of the way Fred Flintstone would just start one of his cars.
Hulk not like sand. It coarse, rough, irritating, get everywhere. Why can't military leave Hulk alone?
Okay, I love the way he just picks up the tank and uses it like a baseball bat, or tosses it.
Batter up.
Target angry, target angry. I think he said, "Yeah." He shakes the other guy out. It's empty now. I think he tried using it as a shield. Like, I think it might have hurt him for at least less than 20 seconds.
Batter up.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Hulk's thinking he should get some body heat for that. And the way he just bends that, and it goes like, "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit." Well, he's in quite a predicament. Well, he'll have quite a story to tell his family when he gets home. Huh, codename Angry Man. If you replace the U with an I, it would be Angry Man is insecure. And you'd be like, which Angry Man? You'll have to be a lot more specific.
Hulk believe he can fly. Hulk believe he can touch the sky.
Those are some pretty good perspective shots. It's kind of interesting to see Ang Lee just doing that motion capture for just the leaping and all that. Wonder if he was on wires and strings for that. This is where Hulk goes to think. Could this be the Hulk's fortress of solitude? Surprise, mother yucker! Yep. Target angry, target angry! I live in a swamp. I put up signs. What do I have to do to get a little privacy in here? Oh no! That could have been fatal. Missed.
Hulk missed it by that much. Ha ha, you miss Hulk.
Yeah, he swiped them. Yeah, he caught that missile with his own hands. He just bit off the and he bit off the tip and spat it out. Yeah, I can see why this is getting a reappraisal nowadays. parking lot is ready. Look at that. You managed to survive that. Yep. You can't keep a good Hulk down. A few more leaps and he'll make it to San Francisco. I think this might have been the first time a Marvel character messed with the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Uh-oh. Hey, nice save, Hulk. Now, when General Ross heads towards San Francisco to intercept the Hulk, his helicopter is codenamed T-Bolt, which I totally get since, his nickname is Thunderbolt. Ooh, his cheeks are looking frozen. Yeah, neither can Hulk, apparently. There he goes. I actually do like this scene of Bruce seeing the Hulk's reflection, and then Hulk just grabs him and says "puny human," and now I see that it was Ang Lee voicing Hulk and saying that line. It always baffled me back then, but now I know. Now, the helicopters that attack the Hulk in the desert are RAH-66 Comanches. The jets he fights near the Golden Gate Bridge are F-22 Raptors. At the time of the film's release, neither aircraft were in active service with any branch of the U.S. military. The RAH-66 program has subsequently been scrapped on February 23, 2004, with no helicopters ever entering active service. Now, a 30-second ad of the Hulk movie that dropped during the Super Bowl cost Universal $2.1 million to produce an error. Why did I say error? Now, William Morris, a 19th century illustrator, inspired the interior of Betty's house. Morris helped establish the modern fantasy genre, inspiring the likes of J.R.R. Tolkien. Well, that's one way to make an entrance. According to the illustrated screenplay, Industrial Light and Magic made a real-time pre-visualization tool before production began that helped give Ang Lee and the crew a better sense of how to film the Hulk in real-world settings. And yeah, I mean, it makes also Ang Lee really wanted to wait until the Hulk would appear in daytime, so that everyone would get to know the Hulk, which makes sense. Yep, they even say T-Bolt. That is fast timing on the San Francisco's police on their part. I think Hulk knows the jig is up. So many stairs. It's getting a little steamy. Steamed Hulks. Well, yeah, those are the most stretch-resistant underwear ever. That's true. I sometimes forget that Jennifer Connelly won an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind. I mean, it's performances like these and Requiem for a Dream that kind of makes sense why Ang Lee wanted to cast her as Betty Ross. I see it. Now, did David purposefully surrender? Purposely let himself get captured? I think that is the case. Now, the movie's first trailer showed a CGI Hulk that didn't look very convincing, which led to several viewers derisively calling it Shrek on steroids. Producer Gale Ann Hurd, who also produced The Terminator, later regretted releasing a trailer with unfinished VFX and urged moviegoers to see the finished results in the cinema. Now, the underground base computer graphic took 3 months to make. Production built a bunker at Universal Studios in Burbank, California, on the world's seventh largest soundstage. And the Abrams tanks that confront the Hulk in the desert are former British Army Chieftain tanks dressed to represent them. The mock-ups are very convincing and quite tricky to spot. The Chieftain has 6 wheels per side, whereas the Abrams has 7. Now, Ang Lee revealed in his director's commentary that property master Jerry Moss created the DNA extraction drill Talbot uses when trying to get a sample of the Hulk, while Lee created the M2 timed explosive. Now, and the reason the film has Hulk grow bigger the madder he gets is it's an homage to the comics depicting him with various heights, depending on the artist and what form the Hulk takes. Which adds up. And computer animators studied bodybuilders for the look of Hulk's muscles. They created 1,165 different muscles for him. And the poodle in the pack made for a good joke. Plus, it was in James Shammas' script. It was funny. I think it looked more like a Doberman, shrugs Ang Lee, who used the best to pay homage to a particular young artiste. The elongated ears it had were from my son's drawing. Also, Bruce's second Hulk out is one of the film's first shots Industrial Light and Magic worked on, and the last one they finished since it's an on-screen Hulk out. And of course, Stan Lee didn't like Ang Lee's interpretation, mainly because he thought this movie's version of Hulk was too big. And Michael France wrote the film's screenplay 3 times. Don't touch me! Missed opportunity to have him say, "Leave me alone." Actually, I think he has a look that has a look of disbelief. Also, the way he's talking down to Bruce, it's like every entitled parent. It's like, I made you. It's like, and apparently this scene actually wore out Nick Nolte's voice to where he wasn't able to speak for a while, so they had to stop the scene so that he could recover his voice. Missed opportunity to have him say, "Leave me alone." The yuck was that? Yep, and apparently him transforming into an electric man is supposed to pay homage to the Hulk villain Zax. How many Z's is that? Uh, okay, that's three Z's. Created by Steve Englehart and Herb Trimp. Zax first appeared in The Incredible Hulk number 166. But yeah, Herb Trimp contributed a lot to the Hulk. I gotta say, this final transformation, on-screen transformation of the Hulk is kind of anticlimactic. And it's like you can barely see anything. I mean, thank goodness for this Ultra HD. Okay, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Now that I'm able to see everything. And the Hulk fighting it look like still images. Nice work of art. You'd think the water would be the end of him, but you'd be wrong. Yep, walk it off, Hulk. Huh. Turns into a stone man. Task Force X. Sweekum kind of sewer slide squad. Yep, I can see I'm fighting a stone monster.
Yep, give Daddy a big hug.
Yep, Hulk battling nature. Yeah, I mean, okay, that CG does look a bit unfinished. Imagine if it was digitally remastered. So he decides to not fight it. Yep, that scientifically makes sense. And once again, great microbiology perspectives. Yep, I think that's Eric. I think that's Eric Bana saying that. It's good combined voice work, and take it all could mean both things. Like take all the power and take all of his anger, his hate, his the toxicity. Yeah, I mean, I really have to give props to Panels to Pixels to finding a good interpretation for all that. It makes sense. It almost makes sense that David would be overpowered by it. He's basically being overwhelmed by all of the gamma radiation, logically speaking. Release the nukes! And quite a green smoke cloud. Green mushroom cloud? Yeah, I'll say it. Green mushroom cloud. And finally, Banner is at peace. One year later. Oh, they seem to be talking a lot more now. Well, that's nice. Everything's green. Nice perspective right there. Oof. They've really got their eye on Betty. Of course, I find it interesting that 14 years later, Jennifer Connelly would then voice Karen, the AI assistant in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and her husband, Paul Bettany, is the voice of Jarvis and also played Vision in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I do find that to be kind of interesting. Pretty cool. And so we have another denouement. Listen to your father and take your medicine, okay? Sorry, I used to read subtitles a lot when I was a kid. Pardon me if I still do it. But it makes sense that Bruce would be a doctor out in the rainforest. Take all the medicine. Quiet. Bunch of jerks. Sit down. Shut up. We need these medicines for the people who live here. Who are you to decide what the people need? These people are helping our enemies. And maybe you are too. Take all this. It's the property of the government. You're making me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And so this is the only shot in which the Hulk's eyes turn green. You know, I swear I thought he had a chameleon on his hat, but I guess it's a frog. But it's definitely a great way to end a film. if you ask me. And that is The Hulk from 2003. And I gotta say, over 20 years later, I'm actually glad that I gave this film a second chance, because actually, I think I do like it. I mean, it might not be my most favorite, but I certainly like it a lot more than some of the Sony Spider-Man universe movies that came in. It's like, yeah, perhaps I was too harsh on the 2003 Hulk film. It may not be as great as the Avengers or the Spider-Man films, but it's still enjoyable in its own right. It's got its own certain charm, and it has a lot of good themes regarding tragedy and a toxic cycle between a father and son, and the kind of rage that Hulk goes through and what he represses, and the complexities of Banner and Hulk and how they function like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and how we all have a big green monster inside all of us. And, it's like, I think if it had been released before Spider-Man, it probably would have been a lot more welcome, and I'm glad to see that it's being compared favorably to the likes of Logan and other dark emotional films like that. Dark emotional superhero films like that. But anyway, that is my commentary on Hulk 2003. On May 19th, I plan on celebrating the 20th anniversary of another certain Star Wars film. I certainly look forward to talking about that. But thank you for listening to my commentary of Hulk. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.